What's up, everybody? Welcome into another JHow Tech Tip, where we're going to talk about how to stream to Twitch, YouTube, or Mixer, and how to do it in as quickly as possible and have you up and running in no time at all. First things first, I still use OBS Studio, but Streamlabs OBS is actually a very good pairing if you're looking to connect those. It's basically the exact same thing in a different platform. It just allows you to connect your accounts directly to it, but we're going to stick to OBS Studio for now because I still like a lot of the features and the usability compared to Streamlabs OBS. First things first, we're going to go to our settings. If you're looking on how to record, I have another video on recording. You can find that link in the description below that talks about just how to record. For us, we're going to talk about how to stream. We're going to first go to our settings. Everything in general, we're going to leave the same. Next is our stream. First, we're going to look, are we streaming to Twitch or any of these, wherever we're at, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, or wherever we're going. You can connect an account now with the new OBS, but you can also use the stream key, which if you're a streamer, you should know where that's at. It's in your settings in Twitch. I'm obviously not going to display mine, but you can find that. Use your stream key, paste it into here, and work just fine. You can also connect your account and do it easily as well and not worry so much about the other ones. So you have two different options of using that. But first, you've got to set that up so that you can pick your service, connect your account in whatever way, whether it's the stream key or connecting your account directly through OBS, and go from there. Next, we're going to look at the settings very quickly, because if you are streaming from the PC that you are also playing from and you don't have the luxury of a 2 PC setup, you probably are going to have to take your settings down a little, unless you're just running a beast of a machine or you're playing some games that don't quite eat up a lot of your resources. If you're trying to stream newer games or FPS games or Call of Duty or any of these things that take up a lot of resources, you might have to make some compromises. Your base resolution is basically what you're playing at, what your main monitor is looking at. For most people, that might be 1080. For me, I have a 1440 monitor, so I'm going to leave that the same. Now, if I'm playing and streaming from the same computer, doing so at 1080 can be very difficult unless you have a very upgraded machine that's going to make it easier to do both, and you're not putting a lot of stress on your computer. If you are streaming and playing from the same computer, you might have to drop it down to 720. There's a lot of streamers that do this. There's a lot of things that work out very well for you, and 720 is an acceptable one. It's much better to play at 720 60 FPS as opposed to 1080 and 30 FPS. It's just going to be a cleaner, crisper picture, and sacrificing one for the other is going to generally be that role. So if you can take that down to 720. If you have a good machine, you can leave it at 1080. Same for the downscale filter. Using that at bicubic, you might have to sacrifice and give up in a few things, but keeping your FPS at 60 is definitely the thing you want to shoot for if you do need to go between either 1080 or 720. If you're playing FPS games, fast-moving games, there is a special resolution which you can type in manually. It's something I use when I stream from my other computer. 1600 by 900 is what Twitch recommends for those fast-paced games like shooters, and it comes across very nicely and it works out very well. But for most purposes, we'll keep it here at 1080 and 60 FPS. We'll hit apply and leave that there. If you're setting up your audio, make sure that you have your desktop audio set up to whatever you're at. It might be default, but you can go into your sound settings and make sure and find whichever one you're using. As you can see, I have a lot of different ones that I use, but for most people, it could be default. It could just be your high definition audio device, which is very common for most people. But if you're running an Elgato or something else, you can see, like me, I'll be using 2 different things on how to set up whatever it is going on. So the speakers, the Elgato sound capture is what I'm using. Also, when it comes to your microphone, make sure you know which microphone you're using, whether it's a webcam microphone, whether it's your own standard microphone, whether it's a Snowball, whether it's a Yeti, whether it's a headset microphone, whatever it is, make sure you pick the proper one. And whatever you do, you can always double check here, because once you hit OK, you're going to see that my microphone now shows up here. I can play any type of audio and understand that my desktop audio is going to be there. If you're not sure if it's picking up the right audio, simply do a test recording before you ever start streaming, and then just go back and watch your own video. It's the easiest way to know whether it's working. As far as everything else goes for your audio, you can leave it exactly where it's at. Most things are going to be at 44.1, so you can leave that only if you know what you're doing or your system specifically asks for that with your audio device. 48K is okay if you need it, but 44.1 pretty much leave it untouched. Next up, the output, everything that we talked about, video bitrate. This is the hardest one. There's going to be a link in the description below. That link is going to lead us to this Twitch link in recommended settings on the NVENC versus the X264. Where do I get my FPS? Where do I get my bitrate? How can I know what my bitrate is? First, this is a pretty good guideline, but at the same time, it's kind of dependent on what my internet and computer can allow. You can see a lot of the different settings. If you do need to sacrifice a lot, bitrate, the recommended lowest bitrate is 3000 if you're running at 720, 30 FPS. As you can see, it tends to go up as things go. Twitch currently has a cap of 6000, meaning that's as high as you can possibly go. The encoder is another thing. If you're running a newer NVIDIA card, there's been some changes to the NVENC. This is an old technology kind of made new again. It's actually much better now if you're running those NVIDIA cards, and it makes things work a lot easier with newer technology to have a less use on your CPU and make for an easier encoder. For everybody else that doesn't quite have the newer technology, or you're running AMD or something else, or maybe even your onboard, which hopefully is good enough to stream, the X264 is going to be okay. Your audio bitrate is going to be fine at 192. The higher the audio, the better. There's no reason why you wouldn't run it better. The better audio quality, the better things go, and everybody likes to have better audio. The one thing that you should always know is that having good audio is always a good thing for your videos, because it doesn't matter if you have a great video, if your microphone's rough, and you want to get as good as audio quality as you possibly can. So now that we're done with the settings, we need to stream those games. Now, if you're streaming, then it normally means that you might have a start screen. If you don't have a start screen, then you might have a separate screen where it's going to be you on stream, and then there's going to be another scene where you're going to have a game and all that stuff. So how do streamers do that? How do we make that work? Now, first, you're going to have your normal scene. Your scenes are basically containers, and your scene is basically, this is my start screen. So I can use this and set up, and we're just going to do some text here. And let's say this is the start screen. And I can use a video, I can do an image, I can do different things. And all I need to do to have those is a media source. I can create a media source and do whatever I need to do. I can then browse, find a folder, and find something that I want to add in here. I can go to my pictures, my documents, my videos, whatever it is I'm going to be. And so whenever I load that file, it's going to showcase what I have on screen. So what I've selected is simply just a transition that I have for another stream that I have. I can make this visible, I can make this invisible, but as you can see, if I want a layer to be on top of the other, let's assume this is a webcam. I can now use this basically as a webcam. We'll turn that media source off, but let's say I have a file, and everything that's on the bottom, consider it a layer. Whatever layer is on top is whatever's going to show. As you can see, this is on top, but if I just simply click and drag that, I can no longer see the text, and that's how it works. If I want this to fit to the screen, I can just right-click, go to transform, and hit fit to screen. It's a very simple way to try and make things work and get things set up quickly and easily. Now let's assume that I'm just playing games, and that's all I want to do. I might set up another scene, which is, let's say I play multiple games. Let's say for the first one, we're just going to call this Heroes, a game that I'm known to play. Now you can see I have no more sources. So whenever I want to switch between scenes, I need sources on each of those. So instead of using game capture, which tends to be pretty unreliable, I have a couple of options. I can do display capture, and this is basically I'm running two monitors, and I can run this to where I'm going to say, this is my left monitor. As you can see, it allows me to select between the different ones, and I can pick between whichever monitor that I need. This is my other monitor, but I'm going to focus on my main monitor. This is going to record anything that happens on this screen, and that's all I'm worried about. There's a couple of other options, though, if you want to do it as well. Window capture is a great one for video games. It makes it very easy. We'll just name this Heroes, and conveniently, I have this open, and it makes it easier. You need to have things open in order for this to work. So for all intents and purposes, just having the monitor and recording that screen is what most people do. They'll have their games up in that screen. You can see that I had this windowed. I can have different things. Whatever I do with this, it's going to be here. You can see there's a lot of things I can do with it. So it makes it really easy to just kind of go through. I can position things. If this is my main monitor, I can reposition this. I can do a lot of different things. If I need to, if I have my webcam, I'm just going to go to video capture device. My webcam is hooked up on another PC, which I'm conveniently recording from right now. I would go here, and if I have my webcam, it's going to show up in the device option here, It's also going to give me different settings that I can use along the way, but most of those are default. If you have a Logitech webcam or one of the more common ones, you can hit configure video and we'll bring up the Logitech settings as well. And then I can add those in a layer. I can move different stuff around and make things very easily. Now I would have my monitor on top. Same thing to where I had my text. All I want to do, if I've already added a source in another file, it's already going to be there. So now let's say I want to carry over some similar assets to make things a lot easier. I can just go and grab those. They're going to be saved in those settings. So if I add it once, I can add existing. So that way it makes it easier to use stuff between different settings. I can do the same thing here to where if I have my display capture, you can see my left monitor is already here and I can just add it there. So now I have the similar setting to where if this is my main screen or my start screen, all I have to do is click on another scene and it's going to be there. OBS has a really cool feature with your transitions and different things to where you can set it to cut, which is just a simple one, or it can fade. Makes it a lot easier if things are there. You can see it more on screen, but that's really how it goes. If I have that webcam, one thing that I do need to be careful for is that if I have a webcam, it might also add the audio device. Therefore, if I have a separate microphone from my webcam, I would want to mute this. And if I never plan on using it, you can always click the cog and click hide and it won't be there, but you can always reveal by unhide all. A few little tricks there along the way. After that, basically, it's a matter of adding more scenes, figuring out your layers and sources, and getting everything set up to stream. That is how to stream using OBS. You can do it for free. You can stream to Twitch, Mixer, or any of those out there using OBS. And this is how to get there from point A, from the very beginning, from getting OBS set up, getting through the settings, and then how to add scenes, how to add sources, and try and do more. There's a lot of tricks you can do within OBS. There's a lot of add-ons once you get more used to it. But for most people that are just getting started in streaming, this is basically all you need to know. The only other tips that I would make is if you want to adjust stuff, you can click on the corners or the points, the squares here. If you want to shape it in whatever, you just hold your shift and you can shape it in whatever direction you want. And if you're trying to crop stuff, let's say you have a big wide webcam angle and you don't want it, instead of going in, there are filters that you can use by right-clicking and going into filters and finding different filters here that you can use. All of that is there. It's also a way to set up the green screen by going into the color key or the chroma key here and setting up the green screen. That's another way to do it. But if you're just looking to do it, you can also alt click and it's going to crop from whatever direction that you're going, and you'll know that it's cropped because now it's green and that indicates that you are cropped. So there's a lot of very easy things you can do within OBS. There's a lot more you can do along the way. But if you're looking to start streaming for the first time and trying to get all this set up, this is the easiest possible way to get it set up, from getting the settings going to getting everything set up in your scenes and sources. And there's so much more you can do with that. So if this video did help you, feel free to hit that like button, as that's greatly appreciated, or leave a comment below letting me know if it did help you, or if you have any questions that I might be able to answer. I'll do my best to get back to those. Also, there's going to be more OBS videos as well as other tech content, so be sure, if you did like it, hit that subscribe button and make sure you have notifications on for future videos as well. Thank you all so much for watching this tutorial on how to stream using OBS. Have a good one.